Hello everybody, welcome here. Thank you so much for tuning in. I am going to attempt to talk about something that I literally just received in meditation, like literally just before this, before I decided to very spontaneously create this video. It is actually an information or many pieces of information that came through since March of last year when we had our first trip to Egypt, and then a continuation of it in our second trip in Egypt last year. So the information that came through in November was something that we didn't really quite know what was happening because, I mean, I'm not really exposed to a lot of the galactic history information or, you know, things like stargates and this and that. I'm also not someone that researches about it or go down the rabbit hole. It's only if information comes and, you know, potentially something intrigues me, then I try to search up about it. But most of the time, as you know, this information is not very mainstream and not many people are talking about. And even if I find it on Ascension Glossary or something like that, it just is so much, like I just don't understand. So during our trip, it was in one of the temples, I think, if I'm not wrong, it was the Hatshepsut temple. That day we visited that temple towards the end of the day and it was already closing. I remember my 2 times going there, I didn't really have much of a really strong resonance with that place. But that time we went there, I remember that place was where I received something about the 12 gates. Like the 12 gates are open or something along those lines. So I was like, what 12 gates? 12 gates? 12 gates of what? So we talked, you know, within the people who were there, we talked about it. Nobody really knew exactly what this 12 gates was referring to. So then I was like, you know what, whatever. But there were a lot of themes that were coming up in terms of portals, which, I mean, I think people who have been to Egypt or you've, you know, watched videos about Egypt and, you know, certain temples, you probably know that there are a lot of depictions of what is called the false doors. I don't know why I did this, but yeah, it's literally called the false doors. And apparently, it is believed that these false doors are actually used by ancient Egyptians to travel to another dimension. So they literally can bring their body through the false door, like they literally walk through the wall, through the false door, and it brings them to another dimension. So that's like a portal, right? And so when we visited, one of the other places that I really love in Egypt is the Serapeum in Saqqara. And the Serapeum, when we walked in, the feeling that I got was literally like this whole place is created for traveling, like not just astral traveling, but when you lie in the what they call the tomb or what they believe to be the tomb, but we all know it's not a tomb. The box, right? The sarcophagus, when people lie in that in the past, and when certain vibrations and frequencies were there, because the box is made of black granite, it's made of red granite as well, some of it, and these granite stones actually have very high percentage of quartz crystals, and we all know quartz amplifies energy. So when a stone has, like, let's say 60-70% quartz composition, it really amplifies the energies that are inside. And what I felt was that when you lie in it and let's say a sound is being played or certain frequency is being amplified into that box, this person can, like, the physical anatomy of this person can be modified to a way where, yeah, it can literally like disappear, disintegrate, and you can travel somewhere. You can bring your body along with you to another dimension. So with this whole theme of traveling through dimensions, walking through portals, this 12 gates thing was like, okay, cool, maybe that's that. Maybe it's also the gates where these other life forms, other beings, can come through to visit us, or we can go through to visit them. And in those days, in ancient civilizations, not just ancient Egyptian, but like ancient Amazonian cultures, and I believe not just that, those few are just the famous ones that we know, but there are a lot of indigenous people within Southeast Asia, within South Asia as well, that is not that known, that also, I believe, have or coexist, not just have interactions, but coexist with these beings, and they don't see them as an alien or an ET, just because this word alien and extraterrestrial was only created like in modern days to categorize these sorts of beings. But in the past, they could just be like us, coexisting with dogs and cats. So I remember I watched an interview, and there was this interview with this Amazonian elder, and the interviewer asked him like, oh, what do you think about like aliens? And he was like, what alien? You mean George? Like George? Like he actually has a name for this friend that he has. And it just shows that when we're not programmed to believe that these beings are ETs or whatever label we have for them, they're actually just part of us, part of this universe. So anyway, I believe that in those ancient times, these interactions are more frequent than now. Why is that so? People believe that apparently during the galactic war, the gates, the stargates, the 12 gates that are actually the gateway from Earth to other galaxies or other universes or other planets were being destroyed. And why were they being destroyed? Well, there are many different theories to it. One of the truths that I feel into and resonate with, and that it makes sense, with whatever that's happening in the world right now that we see, is that these beings that destroyed the stargates stopped more advanced beings or consciousness from being able to reach us, to assist us in our ascension or in the evolution and the advancement of our consciousness. It is actually very apparent in what's going on in the world right now, and I'm sure that I don't need to talk too much and dive too much into it, but we all know that there are groups of people that purposefully and very intentionally want to stop us from knowing the truth and manipulate the things that we need in our day-to-day lives, like food, like the weather, like the media, to sort of keep us within what they call the matrix, or this thing to stop us from being able to restore our own divine nature and the truth that we are divinity, we are a fractal of God, and that God is within us, or source or the universe is within us, and that we have all that we need to access that, to unite back with our inner divinity, and to access the truth. So there's a lot of this false overlays that are being placed on our lives right now, that if you aren't able to see through all of that, it's actually quite, it's everywhere. It's happening everywhere, literally every single aspect of our lives. And this is not something to fear, because fear is actually the main thing that they want us to have more of, so that this energy can be fed off. So then this linked to the information that we actually received in our March trip. I remember a couple of us kept receiving the messages about time loops, and I remember in one of, I think towards the end of the trip, I literally was woken up from my sleep because there was a voice. Like, I actually literally heard a voice inside of me, not like beside me, but inside of me. And I usually when I receive information or if I channel, it's usually like an intuitive hit, or I just know it. But this time I actually literally heard it, and that's why I woke up from my sleep. And the voice said ascension, descension, loop, or I believe it's those exact 3 words, ascension, descension, loop. And I woke up from it and I was like, okay, what about that? And then I received nothing about it. And I remember we were trying to, make sense about it, but obviously a lot of these things, when it's not time to make sense of it, it cannot be made sense of. And a lot of the times it actually takes other information, or you going to other places or having other conversations, and then somehow these information come, and then the puzzle pieces sort of like come together when the time is right. So I literally like forgot about that, and then this whole 12 gate thing came, and I was like, okay, whatever. Then yesterday, it was a lady from our March trip that sent me a message, and I heard it, and then it led to a series of events that made me watch certain videos on YouTube, and then suddenly this whole information just clicked that, part of the whole agenda of disrupting the 12 gates is to actually disrupt the ascension timeline of humanity. The 12 gates are also a reflection of us. So if you don't buy the storyline of the galactic war and the stargates and this and that, which I also take with a pinch of salt, because I know a lot of people who are so deep into this rabbit hole that they actually trap themselves in this time loop. It is a time loop in itself. It is a very strong portal, or I don't know if there's another word for it, but it feels like a black hole. When this information comes through and you're like, whoa, what it is new, and then this and that, everybody's talking about it, and then you just go into a tunnel vision, and you literally, like, this whole thing about the war and the reptilians and Anunnaki and this and that just like consumes your life. That in itself is one of the agendas of these beings that want to stop us from breaking out of this time loop. So you have to be very careful when you engage with information like that, or you receive information like that and hear people talk about it, that you always have your own sovereign boundaries. So the thing about the gates and this storyline, really, at the end of the day, everything is a reflection of us. And I know that, this is like, yeah, duh, everybody talks about it. We're a reflection of it. The universe is a reflection of us. We're a reflection of the universe. But, okay, have you really integrated what that means? So, the 12 gates actually reflect our 12 chakras. And it also, commonly, the 12 gates are mapped out on the earth, where there are these specific spots on earth. Egypt is one of them. I believe it's like the 4th Stargate or something like that. And then, Machu Picchu is also one of it. And then South Africa is another one. And, all these different places that you hear about commonly, and people often go there and do grid work, stuff like that. So these places are what is called the chakra points of earth. Basically, what are chakras? Chakras are a concentrated field of energy, okay? This is literally the definition of a chakra. It's not a spinning thing in our heart. It's not a red-colored ball of light in our base. It's not just that. It's actually specific meridian points or specific energy channels that we have in our bodies, that we have like 100,000 of them, intersecting at very specific angles to create the chakra. So this concentrated field of energy basically has its own very powerful frequency, its own potential. That concentrated field of energy on Earth is also an amplifier. So if you think about the Great Pyramid, what I received as well is that the Great Pyramid is a receiver and a transmitter, which makes sense that it receives information or frequency or energy or signals from perhaps outside of Earth, and then it amplifies it to Earth. And then we also transmit the energy from here and send information and signals to wherever it needs to go, right? So if you think about these places as very powerful energy spots on Earth, these places have the innate ability to shift something within us, to heal us, which is why a lot of people, when they go to Egypt or they go to these different places, it's like something shifts within them that even if they can't fully describe it, they feel it. And then over time, their reality then reflects back to them. Obviously, with these powerful places that act like receivers and transmitters, there also will be groups of people who want to use it for their own agendas, or to cut this channel that we have, let's say receiving frequencies from Venus or receiving frequencies from the Pleiades, so that we stop, like we stagnate, and we cannot expand beyond our current state of consciousness. So that's why a lot of these places, like Egypt, like the Great Pyramid, also has a very distorted energy. A lot of people feel like, oh wow, the Great Pyramid, 7 wonders of the world, a lot of tourists, yes, but if you're sensitive to energy, you go in there, you know that something about this place just feels off. I remember landing in Egypt and I was so confused because I was like, did my plane land in the correct place? Because the frequency of Egypt that I connected with in my meditations is completely different from what it is now. Yeah, like I literally questioned myself. And anyway, so a lot of these places are also have been hijacked and they have been used in a way that it's not its innate usage, if that's the right way of saying it. If you can zoom out and see it from a macro perspective, how this reflects us, how that reflects us. There's 12 gates, 12 points of the chakras of the earth. Our journey to these places, a lot of us feel the calling towards these places, right? It's all about restoring our own inner temple. It's all about reclaiming these power spots in our bodies. A non-dual perspective where everything is simply just what it is, all guiding us towards our goal, which is everybody's enlightenment and the expansion of consciousness, the ascension of consciousness. This big C word consciousness, not just the consciousness here, not the individualized consciousness, it's this thing that we all came from. And if we're able to see it from that perspective and come back to this dual plane, we'll be able to understand that, wow, you know, our personality, our individualization, this flesh, this body, why desires are even desires, they're all leading us, you could say baiting us, right, towards this bigger thing, which is our own journey of enlightenment. And our own journey to restore the truth within us and the greater truth. And this truth is what sets us free. Truth is a frequency. And if you have felt this frequency before, you know that when you're in this field of truth, when you're in that state, nothing that is not truth can stand in that field. Anything that is false light, that is, you know, mimicry energy, it just melts. It dissolves and it's gone. Because that field can hold nothing but truth. And so if you have a fear, if you have something that you doubt, right, and in these states during meditation or whatever, you bring those thoughts in, you will realize that it's so hilarious to even believe that, because that's not truth. That's not true at all. And the more you're able to tune into that, the more you're able to operate your life from that, nothing scares you. Because everything, most of the things that we've been fed from the media, from education, from our jobs, from society, they're all false beliefs. They're all false beliefs. Because when a population is disconnected from truth, that's when these group of people can control the rest. So the question is how, right? How do we restore the 12 chakras? How do we get there? You know, in my years of searching, I have come to a conclusion that you cannot heal a chakra just like that. Like, I go to a person and I say, okay, help me heal my root chakra. And unless the person is like a rishi or something, which, I mean, I don't think they're here. I don't think you can even find them on social media. This time of our, you know, existence right now. Maybe in the past, maybe thousands of years ago, but now, no. And if somebody can tell you that they can heal you like that, you better run. Because a lot of the times, most of the times, they're just preying. They're predators preying on the weak. It's the same. You don't go to Egypt because it's believed to be, related to this specific chakra, and then you heal this chakra. No. You go there, and then there are so many different energy pathways in our bodies, and that place will know exactly what it needs to work on. And it could be your root, it could be your crown, it could be your throat, it could be nothing related to what you see online on mainstream media, that this place represents the throat chakra or the heart chakra or the solar plexus of Earth. It's not like that. It's not linear like that. It's the same with our healing journey. You oftentimes, a lot of the deep healing comes when you least expect it. And it's really throughout our life. Our whole life is a journey of healing. It's a journey of expansion. It's a journey of evolution. It's a journey of restoration. This is why we're here. We don't reach there in 1 year. We don't reach there in 2 days. We don't reach there in 12 years. It takes a lifetime. And that's not something daunting. It's actually, if you can drop the idea of I need to get there, then this whole journey becomes every day a reflection, every day an opportunity for you to release this, to release that, to restore this, to restore that, to reconcile whatever you need to reconcile within you. And that in itself is such a blessing. It's really all down to your own commitment to yourself. Because nobody can save you. There is no savior that's going to come and save the whole humanity. We need to commit to ourselves. And if we understand that we are God within, we are source within, we are the universe within, then why do we need to outsource this power? And this is what a lot of ancient texts, ancient scriptures, traditions talk about. It's this one thing, that there's only one truth. They refer it to as one God, but really it just means source, like this one field of truth. And it's not multiple gods that we worship. And that God is within us. It is not outside of us. And in these ancient manuals, and also passed down orally in tradition, teach the instructions or the methodologies to unite back with this source. And it is not a one-day thing. It is a lifetime of practice, of devotion. Not devotion to some God, but devotion to yourself, devotion to your own practice, devotion to your own evolution, your own expansion. And the highest method is meditation. Not meditation to a guided random one on an app, but an instruction, a method that's being passed down from the lineage, from the tradition, that's being tested. And because in those times, before the cycles of time shifted, and then there's the whole dark age and Kali Yuga, whatever, before that is where the veil was very thin. There were not so much of these dense energies. So rishis would literally, their job is to receive the downloads and then to transmit. So yes, in those times, those people like Jesus can heal with their hands. They can have instantaneous healing. That's their city, that's their superpower. But they didn't just get the superpower because they got a superpower when they're born. They had to practice themselves. They had to hone, not just hone this skill, but literally their entire being. And that's what yoga is about. I'm not preaching yoga, and I don't want to be that person that preaches yoga, really. But because this is really the one thing that I find in my journey has been the most grounding, has been the most down-to-earth method. It's not a Merkaba, activation. It's not a 12th strand DNA ascension activation. It's not like that. And I'm saying this not that I don't believe that, that extra-dimensional beings exist, because it's very clear that the person, Patanjali, that transmitted the Yoga Sutra is a Naga and a good lizard, a good reptilian. Nagas in Southeast Asia culture, in South Asia culture, is a big thing. You see that in the walls of Egypt, snakes. You see them, dragons, in a lot of the temples here in Bali. You see them in Cambodia. You see them in Thailand. You see them in China. You see them in Vietnam. There must be some truth to it if, these different places are constantly showing the same thing. So these other forms of beings definitely existed and coexisted with humans in the past. Because in those times, they're able to literally connect and receive, and the teachings that they get have then been passed down in a very closed container, if I can say that. And the purpose is because if this information gets lost in the hands of someone that wants power for themselves, that's going to be very, 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 very dangerous. So the way that I even found this lineage literally wasn't even part of my plan. Like, I knew that there was something ancient that was coming, but I didn't know that it was going to be this path. And I resisted a lot in the beginning. But as soon as I committed, I'm someone that if I commit to something, I really do it. So yeah, I committed, did it, practiced for a year, and I did literally see and experience the transformation. And then it somehow led me to further my studies in this, and I myself am practicing these techniques, these teachings, these meditation manuals. I won't teach something that I haven't practiced. And I'm not trying to be secretive. It's just hard to tell you what exactly that technique is, because you have to go through that process. And I have a few of these breathwork and meditation instructions actually on Insight Timer, where I post mostly more practices on there. YouTube is quite a different platform. So if you want to check that out, you can. I'll link it in the description as well. And yeah, I would love to share these practices, but only if the person that's receiving, only if you receiving it, are also 100% committed. Because it's not a 1 week thing, it's not a 3-month immersion, it's a lifetime. And I can only, in a mentorship, for example, guide you that far, and then the rest of the journey is for you to walk yourself. So I will share and I will guide you through the practices that I've done, and be there for you. But what's to come after also depends on you. So back to this whole thing, to conclude, right? To conclude, what I'm really trying to say is that regardless of the storyline of this galactic history, or this civilization of Atlantis, or this or that, regardless of the stories, these stories are there to reflect us. The journeys that we go to these ancient sites of the earth are also there to reflect us. What is it reflecting? These stories of fragmentation is a story of our own fragmentation, of giving our power away. And now, with the whole, grid workers, light workers going to this place to restore this, to restore that, they're not actually really restoring that place. They're restoring themselves. And it's when we turn that attention inwards and restore what's within, that's then when the outside will restore. So a lot of the times, a lot of people will ask, so what am I supposed to do? What am I supposed to do? Nothing. Like, literally, you don't have to do anything except turn inwards and focus on yourself. Focus on your practice. Focus on your practice of yoga. Yoga not as in the poses, the workout, but yoga literally translates to union. Focus on your own union with Source, with God, with the universe. And then act in alignment with the truth, the frequency of truth that you receive in those practices that will then bleed into your life. So thank you for listening up till this point. If you're still here, I really thank you for your openness. I thank you for your patience. I thank you for, receiving this information up until this point. If anything resonated with you, drop a comment down below. If you are interested in exploring a little bit more about a mentorship together, you can also drop me an email or drop me a DM on Instagram. I would be literally more than happy to share all of these things with you. And in fact, I actually just remembered that I have a sequence on my YouTube channel. I will link it as well. It's a hatha yoga practice, and basically it's sequence to help you release. So releasing and clearing the gunk in our lower 3 chakras are a big part of hatha yoga, traditional hatha yoga, not modern day hatha yoga, traditional hatha yoga, where we, the signs of this practice will literally clear away the stuff. And only when we clear that is when then it's like a pipe, right? If it's so clogged, water can't go through. So water is, the source of water is like the source of consciousness, the source of the truth. If our pipe, our whole chakra points, our whole energy pathways are so blocked, how is truth going to stream in? It cannot. So the first step you have to clear. And that's what the hatha yoga practice is about. And then we advance. So yeah, thank you so much. I will stop rambling. Thank you so much for receiving all of this, and I will see you in the next one.